Hi, everybody. It's Terry Ensberg. Today's quote is, "My life feels like a test I didn't study for." I don't know who said that, but it captures what I feel on a number of days. There are things that I wonder as I go along, and I'm going to tell you 8 of them. 8 things that make me just ponder, just think, how did that happen or who decided that? The first one is, why doesn't Queen Elizabeth abdicate? She's in her 90s. She's done a fantastic job. The succession picture, the exit plan is not going to change between now and the time she dies. So just quit already. What would it take? Will she only leave office, I'll call it, if there's a crisis? That seems out of character for her. So that's something I wonder. Today it is going to be 112 here in the Los Angeles area, and tomorrow 115. And I wonder, at what temperature do tires and roads melt? I've seen pictures of India where the roads melted, buckled, and I think at some point our economy, if we kept having really hot days like this, our economy would suffer if airplanes couldn't land or take off because their wheels would melt on the runway, if we couldn't drive cars because the tires were melting, um, if gaskets around the doors of stores melted. I mean, there's so many things, materials in our lives that are not meant for that level of heat. And I'm wondering, what is the breaking point? 120? If we got to 120, would stuff fall apart, just physically, materially fall apart? And I wonder, why don't other people wonder that? Number 3 is, why does makeup have long names or skincare products? It used to be Pond's Cold Cream. Now I use a product that is that's the brand, It CC Your Skin Better. I think it's color corrector. So makeup names and skincare names are now a paragraph rather than a couple of words. And I'm wondering, when did that happen and who decided that would happen and why? Another thing I'm wondering is, why are so many things deadly and yet we live longer than ever? So, a few things I picked up in a brief survey of the news today is, here's one of them is, using a loofah could be, quote, disastrous for your health, end quote. A loofah, which is, I think that's like a rough sponge kind of a thing. Really disastrous? And these articles don't give a sense of how disastrous, or even what that means. Like on a scale of a little bit dangerous to really deadly, where does it land? And I think these articles, there should be a law that they have to assign a risk number to it. Like, is it like if you tear a hangnail, dangerous, or like if you jump into a volcano, dangerous? There should be a way to communicate that. Here's another one. Drinking one beer or wine daily could mean devastating health consequences. Really? I don't think so. Here's another one. Large study finds link between hair dye and certain types of breast cancer. Now I want to read to you the concluding paragraph of this. Okay, after that scary headline, it ends with, quote, "It's not clear how much personal hair dye use might raise cancer risk, if at all. Most studies done so far have not found a strong link, but more studies are needed to help clarify this issue," end quote. So that was just bogus. No help at all. Number 5, why don't more people live in manufactured homes or mobile homes? I've wondered this for years. I have seen some beautiful homes that were in mobile home parks. They, if I were going to choose between an apartment where I paid $1,200 a month in rent or a mobile home where I could pay $1,000 a month in rent, and it's possible to buy ones that are not new and really don't cost very much. They're I don't understand why people don't do it. They're large, their storage is incredible. They have patios built along the side, outdoor patios. Some of them even have a little yard space where you could plant some stuff or have an outdoor fountain. I just think some of them are beautiful. They have a lot of amenities inside because of the volume that when they manufacture them, they do it in such volume that so they have kitchen islands and dish hutches and all kinds of built-in features, built-in desks and shelves, and their storage is so clever. And there seems to be a stigma attached to living in a mobile home or a manufactured home, and I don't get that at all. Unless you're in a hurricane area or someplace where weather makes it a dangerous thing to do. I just don't understand it. I really don't. And a lot of mobile home parks are like nice little villages where you could really get to know other people. Uh, and I've just seen some gorgeous ones that are well designed and with good floor plans and nice stuff in them. It's a mystery to me. It really is. I think the main downside is that it's not real estate. But if it's between renting an apartment and living in a mobile home, then that an apartment isn't owning real estate either. So I don't get it. Number 6, I've always wondered who names streets. And I started out thinking the question is, how are streets named? And a lot of them are obviously a series of trees or a series of numbers or a series of landscape features, Glen, Valley, whatever. But there are a lot of streets that don't fit that system. And I just wonder who gets to name streets. Like if you live on Martha Way, did somebody was their wife named Martha and they got to pick the name? It doesn't make sense. I mean, like who has the final say? I grew up near LAX, Los Angeles International Airport, and all the streets are named something connected to air travel. I grew up on Blériot, which that was the French pilot. Okay, that makes sense. But a lot of streets don't make sense to me now, or they're mixed together so you can see, okay, this street is like a person's name, but one street over it is the name of another city, whatever. It seems very random. Number 7, why are good things bad for us? This is so true in such a large scale that I feel like there must be an underlying unifying explanation for it. For example, just to point to the obvious, ice cream bad, vegetables good. Why? Why is that? Why does it have to be that way? That is so consistent that I must be missing something on that. And the last one is, why is the price of stress never included in health advice? The research that shows that stress is detrimental to human health is overwhelming. It's reasonable people cannot debate that anymore. And the person I think who's really an expert on this is the Stanford professor Robert Sapolsky, who wrote Why Zebras Don't Get Ulcers. And he also did a little YouTube lecture on it, which is very worth watching and very entertaining. It just does. Stress, and he breaks it down to exactly what it does to your body. When I saw that, I stopped thinking about stress as kind of an inconvenience, and I have never viewed it the same. I now view it, and have for several years, as a threat to my health equivalent to a heart condition or something quite serious and imminent. And I also practically forced my kids at gunpoint to watch that video because it's such important information. But when a doctor or anybody gives you health advice, they never take into account the stress that might cause you. So if they say, Give up sugar, let's say, because sugar's bad for you. Well, for me, the stress of giving up sugar would be also bad for me. And there should be a way to weigh those two considerations. Maybe a scale, but it never comes up. Never, ever comes up. It is, the advice is always given in a vacuum as if that were the only consideration in the world. Sugar's bad for you. Stop. Okay, but what about the unintended consequences? What about the stress level going up or whatever, fat, you name it? And it changes from year to year what's bad or what's worse. It's a moving target. So those are the 8 things that I wonder today. And this is why my life feels like a test I didn't study for. Thank you so much for listening to me rattle on. Talk to you later. Bye.